course, Donald Trump is taking racist shots at Hakeem Jeffries and, put him up there with a sombrero hat and all of this other stuff. And I mean, it's like really, are you really that sick? So, yeah. So that's what's going on with that.
For the love of black people, please stop.
For the love of black people, we fight for truth. We fight for truth. For the love of black people, we will not be silent. For the love of black people, we rise. For the love of black people, we rise. For the love, we rise. For the love of black people. Through the pain, through the struggle, we rise, we rise.
Black people, please stop scrolling wherever you are, guys. I am rolling through the city of Lafayette, and so I decided, what better time, I'm sorry about that, than now to go ahead and do this podcast. So I know I've been telling you all that we were going to come here and do it, and we have not, but here we are. So it's a lot happening right now. The government is shut down, and many people here in the city of Lafayette, of course, will feel that, because believe it or not, we do have federal workers here in the city. When you think of funding that comes from the federal government, you better understand that your city, some of the city funds, the funds that it takes for the city government to operate, is going to come from the federal government. Some of the funds that come from, that go to the education system, so to the school board and to individual schools and whatnot, even private schools and charter schools come from the federal government. So when the federal government shuts down, most of the time that means those payment stops. That can even lead down to and trickle down to welfare benefits, housing benefits, and things of that nature. So do know that Republicans specifically are essentially saying that they're not going to come back to the table with Democrats to discuss a bill that would include protecting all of those millions of Americans that were affected by the quote-unquote big beautiful bill, which will go into effect, I believe, in January. Many people will start to feel those effects, will lose their health care. And so that's an important topic. It's something that, of course, you all know I'm very passionate about. I am licensed to sell health and life and accident insurance in the state of Louisiana. I haven't done so in quite some time, but it's something I've been considering again, because, we have to be prepared for the inevitable, which is that at some point in life we're going to get sick and we're going to need health care, and we're going to need to make sure that we have adequate insurance to provide the financial ability for us to get that health care, because most people don't realize how expensive health care is simply because they have insurance and they pay for the insurance, and they say it's expensive. But yeah, we definitely need quality insurance to be able to take care of our health care. And most of us that live in, especially, say for instance, a Republican state like Louisiana, which is poor, like most of them are, and because they don't pour back into their people, they continue to profit off of the backs of poor people in states like Louisiana. And when I say they, I mean like the state and federal government, really. But people like Jeff Landry and the likes, who have run this state for quite some time. Even when John Bel Edwards, who I'm not that much of a fan of either, was running the state, you still had a Republican-led legislature that, of course, tried to stop everything that he did that was potentially good for Louisiana. And that's what we've seen across the South, and especially those Southern-led states, right? So that's what we have been facing. And I mean, it's a trying thing to see that a government is shut down on the basis of whether or not people will receive health care. And polls are showing that overwhelmingly Republicans are looked at as the blame for this. Democrats are looked at as those who are at this point standing up for everyday Americans, ironically enough. And when you have issues with both parties like I do, you find yourself wondering at the end of the day, why is it that people are choosing a side that essentially says that they're going to stand on not allowing people to receive adequate health care based on the fact that they may, what they're trying to allude to, family, is that black men are overwhelmingly on Medicaid because they're lazy. But black men are overwhelmingly on Medicaid because you don't give them adequate jobs. And so even if they do have a job, they can still qualify for Medicaid because you don't want to pay them a fair wage. You see, that's how that works. And so it would cost them more to pay for their insurance out of the little wage that you give them than it would if they just paid for a doctor's visit if they had no insurance, which is why they would qualify under any reasonable system to get that type of insurance, right? But you want to call them lazy. No, you have perpetuated this idea that black people in general are lazy because it makes it easier for you to get into spaces without talent or without the ability to actually prove that you have what it takes to do the job. You see, when they talk about DEI and all of these other things as if it is the only merit or the color of someone's skin or the race or whatever the diversity is the only merit in which they are accepted into programming, it is a facade that really perpetuates this smokescreen so they can be looked at as the better or the qualified, but they're really not, right? When you look at DEI doesn't make unqualified people qualified. It says who is the most qualified of this group of people and let them in. It actually is crazier than they're trying to make it, because the reality of it is saying we can only let so many of y'all in because of how racist America is. Even though you might overwhelmingly be more qualified than they are and more talented than they are. And so really and truly, if we went off of their merits and DEI didn't exist and we only and we could not look at race or gender on an application, they would certainly not be in the workforce. You know why? Because on paper, they don't even compare. So we've always been a prideful people. We take pride in what we do. We take pride in how we live, how we present ourselves, and how we do what God has called us to do. And that has always been known. So that's what's happening with the government shutdown. And of course, Donald Trump is taking racist shots at Hakeem Jeffries and, put him up there with a sombrero hat and all of this other stuff. And I mean, it's like really, are you really that sick? So, yeah. So that's what's going on with that. Kyron Lacy was 24. He played 3 seasons at LSU, recording around 112 catches, nearly 1,700 receiving yards, and 16 touchdowns. He was widely viewed as an NFL prospect, invited to the combine, and on many radars. But behind the stats, there were pressures: performance, reputation, community expectation. In early 2025, whispers surfaced of legal trouble. In January, he was charged with negligent homicide, felony hit and run, and reckless operation of a vehicle in connection with the December crash. He was released on bail. When the public discourse began, many consumed the narrative, LSU star kills man flees. Few paused to ask, what was that evidence? What was the motive? Who benefits from shaping that narrative, and why? So here's what the authorities claim. Lacy allegedly passed multiple vehicles in a non-passing zone recklessly. Okay, this is according to people.com. His actions supposedly forced another vehicle to swerve oncoming traffic, causing the fatal collision. After the collision, authorities say Lacy fled the scene without rendering aid or calling for help. This put him on the hook for negligent homicide, hit and run with death, and reckless operation. Now, this is all according to people.com. So notice that these claims rest on interpretations of limited evidence. What eyewitness accounts were used? What surveillance was at the scene? How consistent were the statements? How much of it was media amplification? Guys, one thing I'm asking that you guys do to support and support our mission is to donate to Cash App Movement 337. That's Cash App Movement 337, and that will help to fund this channel for the love of Black people, where we talk about issues that will impact Black people and people that love Black people, right? So we want to continue to lift up our voices and continue to have our voices heard, and to have independent media, right, that will cover these issues and talk about these issues in a way that's exciting. And we also will be bringing guests to join us to be able to have these discussions as well. I am so excited because I'm in the talks with one of my organization leaders who may be potentially one of my guest co-hosts frequently. So I'm excited to have that happening. And thank God for Jaden, who's going to be producing the show and making sure that we stay on point. And look, I'm telling you, we are building up something great. So again, I would like for you to go ahead and send a Cash App to Movement 337 to continue to fund for the love of Black people. And of course, our Hot Plates for the Homeless program, which we decided to do in lieu of our fundraisers that we used to do. Because you know what we said, we're putting in so much effort and energy. And yes, the people are getting fed and they love the food, but I'd rather be able to take those same resources and that same energy to give back to our community and to be able to meet a need when people are not able to get food from, you know, diners and whatnot during the lunch period. We'll have something for them in the evening on the weekend. So God bless you. Thank you for that. And now we're going to move on to the next. If you're in Lafayette, you know that we've been talking about the ICE raids that are potentially going to be taking place, and the potential partnership with the Sheriff's Department and ICE, potentially having some deal that's going to take place, which clearly we should have known was coming, right? Because the sheriff, I believe, in my opinion, tried to prep us all up for the need for there to be this funding to come to the jail and all of these other things. And, you know, they were so adamant that, you know, we just need resources to build a new jail, and they need a new jail. And that's just been something they've been trying to press into the minds of the community, even trying to convince Black people that it's no big deal that we're trying to put a jail across from the school in your hood, in your community, right? So that's what's been happening with that. But we now know that the sheriff's office is in talks with, and I have to do a little bit more research on it, and I'm going to bring you guys that. So stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you will hear more information about that. But it appears that they're going to be essentially holding detainees until I guess they're deported or whatever is determined based on I guess whatever kangaroo court is run in America, in American immigration, right? So that's what's happening with that as far as I know, and I will of course continue to try to get accurate information. I think initially when I said that there was a contract, I think people misunderstood and thought, or maybe I misspoke and said that there was a contract for them to go and arrest, that the sheriff's office would be making arrests. But no, it's essentially the sheriff's office has a partnership with ICE, so that way ICE can go and detain people and bring them to the Lafayette Parish jail. So that's something that interestingly enough, I kind of foresaw, and we questioned if that would happen, and we were told explicitly at this time that that was not happening. So yeah, I mean, but it's not a surprise, right? Because you get used to these people lying to your face, and at some point we just got to get used to calling them out when they do it. And that's just that, as they do it. Okay, y'all know I have no issue doing whatever I have to do and saying whatever I have to say to call out the foolishness, and I will do it. But at the end of the day, I think it's always good to give people an opportunity to prove themselves, because then that way they can't say that you didn't. So we did, and that's what happened with that.